Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to Japan once again and we're going to revisit one of my favourite Japanese craft breweries. So we're going back to Nagano Prefecture and we're having a taste of another beer from Tamamura Honten and their Shiga Kogen beer range. And this one is a really quite special beer actually. This is a tribute to Masaji Oshita, who was the founder of Mino beer in Mino just outside of Osaka in Japan, which is where my girlfriend is from. So this beer is called the Masaji the Great WIBA. It comes in at 9% ABV and this is an Imperial Black IPA. I think this is there's not been too many Imperial IPAs that I've reviewed from Japan, nor has there been too many Black IPAs that I've reviewed from Japan either. But basically Mino beer is very famous both for their Imperial Stout and for the WIPA, and what the guys at Shiga Kogen have done as a tribute to their founder is try to kind of combine their takes on the style. So I think this one will be a very, very interesting beer. It's very highly rated. I think it was a 96 it had overall on Rate Beer when I checked it out, and it was well into the 4 stars actually when I checked it out too on Untappd. So really looking forward to this one. I always enjoy reviewing Japanese beers for you, and I hope you guys enjoy my take on this one. And a big shout out as well to my good friend Koji at liquor shop Asahiya in Taishibashi Machi in Osaka. He kept this one aside for me because it was one that I very much wanted to try. Make sure you check out the Facebook link to his page in the description below. He's got a lot of really nice Japanese craft beers there that you can go and try, and I highly recommend that you visit if you find yourself in Osaka at all. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Tamamura Honten and the Shiga Kogen beer range before. No doubt I will add some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Japanese beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Tamamura Honten and the Shiga Kogen beers then. So on to my brewery notes. So Tamamura Honten, as I've mentioned to you before, are based in Yamanouchi in Nagano Prefecture in Japan. It's a few hundred kilometres to the northwest of Tokyo, the capital city, and this area is apparently very, very well known for its ski slopes and also for its natural hot springs too. It's somewhere in Japan that I still need to visit actually. But the Tamamura Honten company began brewing sake back in 1805, and recently they began brewing beer under the name Shiga Kogen beer, which literally translates into sort of like Shiga Heights or Shiga Mountain beer essentially. And they started brewing these beers back in 1998, and they also produce a little bit of wine as well. But the head brewer at the brewery is Sato Eigo, who joined the company back in 2003, and the idea to brew beer came when the number of skiers visiting the resort began to dwindle, and so in May of 2004 they applied for their brewing license and they received it 4 months later. They bought their brewing equipment and they trained for a week at a brewery down in Kyushu before beginning their own commercial activities with only about a week's experience or so, and a consultant to actually help them. But they've since gone on to become one of the most decorated craft breweries in Japan. So Tamamura Honten produce their own hops, sake rice, barley, buckwheat and blueberries. They actually have their own hop variety as well, which is called the Shinzuwaze, and this is a hybrid between the Czech Sats hop and a local Japanese variety. And they originally used it as a bittering hop, but they now use it as an aroma hop as well. And this brewery, from what I gather, use a little bit of sake brewing technique and things like that in their beers as well. And the brewery also has their own tasting room as well, there's 2 of these known as Tepper rooms. They've got one at the brewery and they also have one at the Shiga Kogen Ichinose Hotel's Chalet Shiga as well, which you can go and check out. And all the bottle arts that you'll find on the bottles here are designed by Tanaka Noriyuki. But like I say, these guys are one of the best known Japanese craft breweries these days. The weird thing about them though is that it's very difficult to find these beers outside of Japan, for a country that is so advanced in many, many ways. when it comes to Japanese wine, Japanese sake, and the craft beers and things like that, one thing that has never really advanced too much in Japan is the distribution network. You know, it's very difficult to find different craft beers from different regions in Japan, even in the big cities. You know, it really is one of the crazy things about that country. But you know, Japan is wonderful. You know, they're very, very good at food production. They've got some awesome food there, lovely wines. The Nihonshu, you've seen me review a few of these on the channel as well. The craft beers are very good. You know, just go to Japan, enjoy the food, enjoy the culture. It really is a great place to actually, you know, go and just have a good time. So yeah, that's all you really need to know about Tamamura Honten and Shiga Kogen just now. As I said, this beer itself is a very interesting one because it's a tribute to Masaji Oshita, who was the founder of Mino beer from Osaka, which is obviously where my girlfriend is from. But you know, it's very, very cool. It's basically, the idea behind a black IPA is that it's meant to be a combination of the Imperial Stout malt base and the you know, the Imperial IPA hops. They combine this together, and basically the idea with this one was that Sato Ego really loved both the WIPA and the Imperial Stout from Mino, and he wanted to kind of do a take, his own kind of take on putting both of these styles together, and so you have this beer which is a tribute to the now late Masaji Oshita. So I think this is a very, very nice thing, and this kind of highlights how kind of closely knit the craft beer community is in Japan, because you know, they all help each other out, and you know, it's all about in Japan, of course, it's very much about the family businesses, the very small family businesses. The sake breweries are like that, and of course a lot of the sake breweries have now started brewing beers as well. So yeah, that's all you really need to know, as I say, about Tamamura Honten and Shiga Kogen beer. If you want to learn a little bit more, do check out the brewery website in the description below. I'll also put their Facebook page down there, you can keep up to date with that. I don't think this particular brewery has Instagram, but I'll also put the Mino beer website down there for you below as well, and make sure you check out the link to liquor shop Asahiya in Osaka, which is where I bought this beer. But yeah, let's get on to the tasting of this one itself. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, this one is a 9%. Sorry, I'm telling you lies. This one's actually 10% Imperial Black IPA. This one, it said on Untappd and Rate Beer that this was 9%, but I'm seeing here, if you look at the side of the bottle, it does say 10%. But yeah, there you can see Masaji Oshita on this one at the top. But yeah, lovely presented bottle, this one. I will be keeping this bottle. You can see down in the corner here, there is the Tamamura Honten Dragon, which you'll find on all their products, and of course you've got this typical blue bottle cap on this one. But yeah, this one I think will be an absolutely awesome beer. It does tell you at the top there a little bit about Masaji Oshita as well. If I can get the camera to focus on that, you can pause that and have a look at it yourself. But it says, a Tamamura Honten special tribute brew to Masaji Oshita, the beloved and true father of the Japanese craft beer industry. And again, like I said, this just highlights how, you know, tightly knit a community it is within the craft beer industry in Japan. So without further ado, let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting then. Nice little bit of smoke on the opening, and we'll get this out and into the glass. I think this is going to be an awesome, awesome beer. You know, some of the best beers that I've had from Japan have of course come from the Shiga Kogen beer range, and I think this one, you know, I'm really hoping this is one that kind of lives up to that accolade as well. I had a lovely Imperial Stout from these guys a couple of videos back that you watched. I think that was my Hogmanay beer. It was the Takashi Ichiro or something it was called, but it was a beautiful, beautiful beer. So as you can see with this one, this is poured in a lovely dark ebony rosewood colour. You can see there's about a half finger of a frothy, I would say kind of quite light beige tan head on this one. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall this looks like an absolutely beautiful, beautiful beer, and pretty much as you would expect from a black IPA. If I hold it up to the light, it does have a little bit of that kind of dark chestnutty kind of you know, sort of Coca-Cola coloured edge to it. But you know, just putting this in front of the camera, you guys will be seeing that this is pretty much a really dark ebony rosewood colour. You can see the head is just fading away a little bit, but you know, it looks like a really quite you know, quite lovely beer, this one. No, so nothing overall you know, really surprising about this one when you consider that it is a black IPA. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. Ooh. This smells really nice. So yeah, the malt base in this is really interesting. You know, one thing I've always said about the black IPAs, it's a style that is kind of interesting to me because I've always felt that it's one that you get the best out of it when it's an imperial IPA, and that's not just because I'm Scottish and genetically alcoholic. When it comes to you know, black IPAs, I've always found that the regular black IPAs, there are a few exceptions to this, of course, and I've maybe been a bit of a hypocrite because there are one or two that I've reviewed regular black IPAs that don't match this, but I've always found with the imperial black IPAs, having a little bit of caramel in there just to cover the alcohol, it really gives the black IPA a little bit more of a different layer of complexity to it. If it's just a straight up black malt IPA, I think that's a little bit boring, but you can smell the sweetness in this one straight away. And again, this is what I say, when it comes to black IPAs, I will always pick an imperial one over a regular strength. I can't always say the same about a regular IPA, right enough, but with the black IPAs I will always pick an imperial over a regular one, just because I've had better experiences with them. And with this one straight away, you know, you can smell a little bit of that roasty black malt in there. That's forming the linchpin of the beer, but on top of that you get a lovely kind of caramelly note to this. There's definitely a little bit of a syrupy brown sugar to this one. It's a little bit, there's a little touch of a treacle note as well, but you can smell some of these lighter kind of biscuity, grainy sweetness notes out of this one too. The malt base in this one smells very well done. This is definitely one of the black IPAs that I've come across that is sweetest in the malt base. I really like how everything in the aroma is going together here. So yeah, just pay attention to that when you you know, just pay attention to that when you're having a look at this beer. As I always say, take a look at the aroma, because it's always half the experience when it comes to craft beers and whiskies and sakes and things like that. The malt base in this one, I would say, is pretty straight up. I think there's a little touch of a kind of ricey sweetness to this one as well, and again with these Japanese craft breweries, you do tend to find they will use a little bit of rice in the malt base, because it gives the beers that little bit of an oily mouthfeel that the Japanese palate is used to. I've always said, regardless of what style of Japanese craft beer it is you get, you'll always find that these beers really retain that little bit of Japanese drinkability. To the Japanese, beer is something to kind of clear the throat with, and you will always find with these Japanese craft beers you've got a little bit of that drinkability. It's like the German beers, they always retain that kind of brauhaus smoothness to them. But yeah, the malt base in this one is lovely and sweet. On the hoppy side of things, yeah, you can definitely smell there's a nice little touch of earthiness to this one, but quite mild actually. It's quite a sweet earthiness. On top of that, you can pick out, there's a little bit of a floral aromatic note to this one. You can pick out some grassy qualities as well. There's definitely some red fruity notes. I do wonder if there's a bit of Cascade in here. There's something in the aroma of this beer that's making me think sort of Cascadian dark ale, which is a certain type of variant of a black IPA, right enough. But yeah, with this beer, it's got a lovely little bit of a kind of figgy, definitely a little bit of a figgy, slightly raisiny note to it. There is a little touch of sharpness to that red fruit, maybe a little bit of blackberry or black currant coming out of it too. But yeah, definitely a nice little bit of floral aromaticity, nice bit of kind of grassy freshness to it as well. So it's got a very good blend of a sweet malt base, little touch of toasty character in there as well, I should say, but it's also got a nice little bit of hoppy freshness. So I have to say, I'm very curious about this beer. So without further ado, let's get stuck into this one. This one is the WIBA, the Masaji the Great from Tamamura Honten Shiga Kogen beer, a tribute to Masaji Oshita, who was the founder of Mino beer in Mino, Osaka in Japan. Let's get stuck in. Slanja, Skål, Kampai. Yeah, straight away, this beer is getting a big thumbs up from me. In terms of, first impression of this one is, compared to some of the other, you know, Imperial Black IPAs that I've had, this one does lean a little bit more towards the roasty toasty side of things. They do a new brew of this one every year from what I understand, but one of the things in fairness with this is that I'm drinking this pretty fresh, to be honest with you. You can age the Imperial Black IPAs a little bit more, you know. Sometimes about 3 or 4 months in the bottle is kind of good for these, and I think this one was, it was released not long before I actually bought it. I think it was released about a week or two before I actually bought this from Koji, but you know, it still is in that stage where it's quite fresh. But that said, you know, a lot of the bitterness that's coming out of this beer is from the malt base rather than from the hops in this one. If you leave this beer to settle a little bit, the hops will kind of drop back a little bit, and you might start to get a little bit more of the malty sweetness coming out of it. But as it stands, it's a very, very nice black IPA. It just leans a little bit more towards that roasty, toasty side of things, especially for an Imperial IPA, because the Imperial ones, as I mentioned earlier, can be just that little bit sweeter. And as I always say with a dark beer like this, take a little bit of it and just sugar it around your palate and let your whole mouth adjust to it before you start analysing it too much. But yeah, with this one then, straight away you can feel that roasty black malt backbone, that just blankets the middle of your palate. On top of that, you can feel there's a slightly smoother kind of bready malt to it. That kind of comes out more and more the further you go into the aftertaste. The malt base definitely picks up a little bit and starts to sweeten up the further into the aftertaste you go. In the middle of your palate, you've got a nice kind of sweeter caramel in there, and you've got a little bit of a biscuity sweetness, right? You know, the further in the centre of your palate, as I say, it's a little bit more of an oily caramel, and then the further out that you come from that, it's got a little bit of a more. It's definitely got a little bit more of a kind of biscuity sweetness to it. It always reminds me of these McVitie's digestives. I don't know how, you know, if you guys can relate that to, those of you watching in Japan can really relate that to anything, but it really reminds me of these McVitie's digestive biscuits that I would talk about, or that I would eat back home in Scotland. You know, the malt base in this one really does lean towards the roasty toasty side of things. In some ways this malt base does open up in terms of sweetness. You do get that sweetness to it, but then the roasty black malt just pushes its way out a little bit more the further into the aftertaste you go as well. Yeah, it's a lovely beer, this one. Isn't my favourite one that I've had from Shiga Kogen beer. Not quite sure about that, but the thing that really impresses me about this brewery is that it can have a go at pretty much any style they want, and they always pull off a really damn good beer. You know, I've had Imperial IPAs from them, I've had regular IPAs from them, I've had Imperial Stouts from them as well, and they've always really impressed me. What I would love to see is this brewery have a go at a Scotch ale. I think they pull off an awesome Scotch ale, just from the way that their dark beers come across. I'd really love to see them have a go at a Scotch ale. I don't think I've ever reviewed a Scotch ale from Japan before, so that's something I need to keep an eye out for in the future. If I'm telling you lies, sorry, I had the Scotch ale from Baird Beer, and that was quite nice. But I think these guys would really do an absolutely awesome job. But yeah, the malt base in this one, it's pretty much everything you would expect from an Imperial Black IPA, but it does lean a little bit more towards the roasty, toasty side of things. And again, when I remember the Imperial Stout from Mino Beer, it is one of these ones that leans a little bit more towards that roasty, toasty side of things as well. Onto the hoppy side of the beer then. In the back corners of the palate, you've got a good little bit of earthiness coming out of this one. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bit of English hop in here. But yeah, good bit of bitterness from the hops in this one. As you come further forward, that just it just kind of mellows out a little bit, and you get a good little bit of floral quality at the front corners of the palate, but at the same time it's still blended with a bit of earthiness. There's probably a blend of English and American hops in here, I would think, and maybe, like, you know, it could be like Summit or something like that that's in here. I don't think it's Williamette, and maybe it's like, it's definitely not Fugos. It could be like East Kent Goldings or something like that. You know, there's definitely a hint of an English hop to in this beer. But yeah, when you go round the front corners, the front curve of the tongue, it's definitely a little bit lighter and more grassy, and there is a little touch of a floral quality in there too. And behind the front curve of the palate, of course, you get a little bit of that oily bubble where those juicy, fruity esters start to come out of the beer. Yeah, and again, the fruity esters in this one are quite soft. It's definitely leaning towards the kind of red fruity side of things as well. You know, you've got a little bit of a kind of candied fruit ester to this one. As I say, there's a little bit of candied strawberry in there. There's a little bit of a figgy note as well. Maybe there's a little bit of a kind of maybe blackcurranty, blackberry sort of thing to this one, which is really nice. But yeah, you know, this is a solid beer. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. And as far as I can remember, I really don't think I've reviewed. This could well actually be the first black IPA that I've reviewed from Japan. I don't remember reviewing any others, but it's a lovely beer, this. So if you get the chance to try this one, have a go at it. And as I say, it's pretty cool. This one highlights the togetherness of the Japanese craft beer industry. One of the big boys, Shiga Kogen beer, paying tribute to Masaji Yoshita from Mino beer. This is a lovely beer. If you like your black IPAs to lean more towards the roasty toasty side of things, you are going to enjoy this one. It's one of these ones that doesn't do anything surprising for the style, but it's just very well done, and that's what the Japanese are good at. They are good at taking things from other places and just, you know, making their own versions of them and doing it very well, and this beer for me highlights that whole kind of itokodori thing that goes on in Japan. It's a lovely beer, this, so have a go at it for yourself and just see what you think. If you enjoy your black IPAs, you will like this one, and especially if you like them to be a little bit more kind of roasty and toasty. I'm finding as well with this beer, in the aftertaste, some of that black malt is lingering there. You can get some of the sweetness from the brown sugars in the malt base there as well, and some of the hoppy bitterness is just lingering too. In terms of the mouthfeel, this beer definitely mid-bodied. Carbonation's very smooth on this one. The mouthfeel overall, I would say, is a little bit oily. Yeah, a little bit of an oily mouthfeel to this one, which does suit it. Helps bring out some of the sweeter aspects of the flavour before they give way to the more roasty elements. In terms of IBUs, I think this one is somewhere around the 60-70ish mark. Definitely a bit of IBU coming both from the malt base and from the hops in this one. A good balance in the malt base between roastiness and sweetness, and also a good little bit of a juicy fruity character as well. But overall, like I said, it's a lovely beer, this one, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this. This is the WIBA Masaji the Great from the Tamamura Honten Shiga Kogen beer range from Nagano Prefecture in Japan. A beautiful beer, this. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. If you like your black IPAs to be a little bit more roasty and toasty, then you certainly will enjoy this one. At 10% ABV as well, it covers its alcohol very well, and it's another highlight of the Japanese craft beer industry these days. It's been booming over the last 2 years. But the Japanese are certainly doing some very good craft beer these days, and this is another one that you definitely need to check out. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Tamamura Honten and their Shiga Kogen beer range. Do give me some other Japanese beer recommendations too, and I'll see what I can do about getting those. But thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Make sure you check out my social media. This is the Masaji the Great WIBA from Tamamura Honten Shiga Kogen beer in Yamanouchi, Nagano Prefecture in Japan. Until the next time, slange it just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slange it, skull, kanpai.